again. Thank you for joining me in another video. Today I wanted to talk about shame. Shame is a really sucky emotion to feel, and I think we are all familiar with it. One of the things that spirituality is really awesome at is giving you a sense of unconditional love. Being in the presence of unconditional love is amazing. And the thing about unconditional love is that we can't get it from other people. We give it to ourselves. We experience it in ourselves because no one else knows every single thing we've done besides ourselves. And so no matter how much other people love us or don't love us, we know deep inside that they don't know the truth. So we have to become the fountain of unconditional love that we offer to ourselves. And this can be really difficult if we are walking around with shame. And shame can come from a lot of different places, and it can often be confused with guilt. So they're different things. Shame is a sense that there is something just inherently not okay about you. And it usually gets imprinted and implanted on us when we are very young, usually due to a confusing situation that we don't understand why it's happening or how to make it stop. Some form of punishment comes at us or something that just feels awful and we can't make sense of it, and shame is what results. Unfortunately, in our society, we often also project shame on other people for some of the dumbest reasons, things that they have no control over whatsoever, really based on our own preferences and what we want to see in the world. And so we make people feel yucky for not being that. It's a pretty weird, self-centered approach to dealing with other people. And I hope that we learn and grow out of that habit. It's like a little bit, I think the way I would describe it is almost like a psychic violence, a form of emotional violence we do to each other. That's shame that I'm talking about. And unfortunately, we do it to ourselves, and we almost put ourselves in a tiny little, very small space in a closed little shame bubble, and we don't want to fully express our inner joy, our inner light, our unique gifts to the world, because how do you take risks when you aren't feeling safe? And you're not, and the way you feel safe is experiencing that unconditional love, learning to trust yourself, taking refuge within yourself in that space of unconditional love is really one of the best benefits of spirituality that I can think of. So I strongly encourage you to take hold of your shame monster and defeat it as quickly as possible so that you can experience more of the joy that is being in your own presence and what you can bring to the world, because we are all looking forward to meeting you. So some of the ways that you can deal with shame and get out of the shame bubble that you might be in is noticing. Notice every time you are extremely self-critical. So one of the things I do, I started a habit of it, and if I am looking in the mirror and I notice something about myself that isn't as great as it was when I was younger, for example, I will say, I love you to that part. Because I noticed that I was really starting to disconnect with myself and my own body over disliking parts of myself. And so I started a new habit, and the habit is whenever I catch myself doing that, I will specifically say the words, I love you to that part, and I focus it, and I make sure that that part feels it, and you can actually feel the lightening of the pressure. Once you notice the lightening of the pressure, you realize how much damage you might be causing yourself by projecting that kind of self-loathing that shame comes with. So another thing that's important to consider is understanding the difference between shame and guilt. We've all done things that we wish we hadn't done. We've hurt others before. We're all, human and make mistakes. That's part of, being a learning style of creature, right? So there's beeping. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm just going to continue, and hopefully it isn't too bad. So one of the things you can do with those those episodes that have caused you guilt, if you've hurt somebody else and you wish you hadn't done it, what you can do is actually sit with it. Sit with the feeling of guilt for a second. Guilt will leave more quickly when you acknowledge what you've done in a way that shame doesn't, because shame is attached to your personhood. There's a lot of like shame in just being human, because we've all really just projected a vast amount of psychological distress on each other. I think there's like a neurotic level of shame in our society at this point. And so this is very helpful, not just to yourself, but to everyone, if you can clear some of your own shame monster, right? So talking to the parts of yourself that you are, catch yourself despising, cringing at, wishing wasn't so. You can encourage positive change without shaming what is current. And it's just a simple I love you. It's that you just say I love you to the parts that you are working on, and they will come into that alignment. So the other thing is the things you're guilty of, that you have found yourself guilty of. You know you did it, you wish you hadn't done it. It can feel awful. It can sit kind of like a pit in your stomach, and you have to process that emotion. It's a little trickier of an emotion to process. So you sit with it for a little bit and be honest. You don't necessarily have to say it to anybody else, but allow the space in your own being to be honest with what you did and how you feel about it. Like, shit, I wish I hadn't done that. It's okay to feel that. If you need to, another trick that works is writing down a redemption plan. If you did something and you wish you hadn't done it and you want to make sure you never do it again because the guilt is still there, write down a redemption plan. It's acknowledging to yourself, and even reading it back to yourself aloud can really help too, that you do not plan on ever doing it again, that it is not something that directly correlates to the person you are or want to be or think that people should be. It was a mistake. Show that you learned from it. Give yourself a passing grade and move on, so that the guilt doesn't trigger the toxic shame sticking around and preventing you from feeling unconditional love. When you feel unconditional love, it's a lot easier to be comfortable in your own skin and give other people the grace to also experience unconditional love. It's really a great blessing that we can give to each other. Let's see. Oh yeah, and so another good thing that you can do, besides those two things to defeat the shame monster, is one positive thing every day. Do one thing out of the ordinary. Maybe you start out with once a week, because you're new to things. You're just picking up your steam. Either way, as long as you're making a plan and sticking to it, of doing a positive thing that you add to the world. This could be something like picking weeds, or picking up litter and putting it away. If you're on social media, giving kind comments and, really trying to be kind to other people, resisting the urge to be negative, and throwing actual positivity in the world. If you're out in public and you see someone, you could hold the door open, and most doors are automatic now, but you get the gist of it. Say, oh, I like your sweater as you're passing someone. Just a quick little wave and a smile at someone can often make their day. And those little positive things actually give you a bit of a defense, your own case. And what I've noticed is that shame monster likes to build cases against you for reasons that you need to be condemned and punished. And you don't. You don't need to be condemned, and you don't need to be punished. And so building a case against the shame monster by doing those positive things actually helps a lot. So if your mind really starts twisting in it, you have something prepared. Well, actually, for the last 2 months, every day I've been saying hello to my neighbor and bringing, a little sunshine into someone else's life. Those things really do add up in the long run. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you find your way into a vast, pleasurable, enjoyable experience of unconditional love that you grant to yourself. No one else can give you that. That is what you give to yourself. We live in a conditional world. It is part of the nature of things. No one else can know you as well as you know yourself. So you have to give yourself that gift, and you're fully capable of it. So good luck defeating your shame monster. I know you can do it, and pop that shame bubble and get out and revel in the joy and peace of enlightenment and love and light. Take care until next time.